It is Wednesday, February 2nd, and the Splash Zone is back in your life. I am Matt Modi with my 4 favorite NBA player props for tonight. We got a pretty big NBA betting slate, and I have 4 bangers that I absolutely love for tonight, 3 of which are of the plus money banger variety, which of course, plus money bangers are the best kinds of bangers. Before I can give you today's picks, got to do a recap from yesterday, which was a good day. We were able to bounce back from our rough Wednesday. I only had 3 picks yesterday because I didn't love the slate, but I managed to cash 2 of those 3 plays. We cashed Tobias Harris over 24.5 points. We cashed Jalen Brunson under 7.5 assists while missing Kristaps Porzingis 3+ made 3-pointers in what was a wild Celtics-Lakers game that I did not predict correctly at all. Did not expect the Lakers to win that one. But we ended the day yesterday up 1.06 units. We'll take a day where we can profit over a unit any day of the week. And that brings our total profit on the entire season. We are up 44.04 units with an ROI of 26.37%. Now, I had someone ask me, those numbers, the over 44 units and the ROI, that's from the beginning of the NBA season to date, and only talking about NBA plays, so not NFL or anything like that is counting. This is just these NBA player props. So yeah, it's been pretty good. It's been pretty good. I would recommend, if you're not already, if you could subscribe. Not only would that help me out a ton, but when we go on a heater, you're gonna want to be along for the ride. And then, of course, for this video, if you could like, if you could comment, all that stuff, that does help me out a ton. And I love reading through the comments and responding to as many of them as I can. And without further ado, let's get into these bangers. First up, Suns versus Hawks. I'm taking Trey Young over 25.5 points, -111 odds at Caesars. So this is going to be our only non-plus money banger of the day, our only minus money banger, but it's a play that I really like. And the reason why I kept it at the minus money is because we got an awesome price on Caesars. And the odds over the course of time, getting the best odds and getting really good odds, that's the most important thing. And let me kind of talk to you about what I'm saying when I'm talking about how we got such good odds. DraftKings prices this at -135 for the over 25.5 points. Pinnacle, which is generally regarded as the sharpest book in the world. Now, they're generally better for for main lines than they are for player props. Still a sharp book. They price this at -144 to the same over 25.5. While most books actually price the over-under for Trey Young at 26.5. That would be like FanDuel, like BetOnline. As someone who's gotten hooked like 6 separate times this week, getting it even by that 1 point difference between what the other books offer, pretty big deal. So it's a great price that we got on Caesars, as I mentioned. Now, generally, what I like to do with my player props is fade recent results. That's what's generally brought me the most profit. That's not what we're doing today. Today is absolutely, or I guess with this specific pick, that's not what we're doing with this Trey Young pick, I should say. This is not a fade of recent results. Trey's been awesome recently. So instead, let's ride his heater. He's played 3 games since he returned from the concussion. In those 3 games, he's gone over in all 3, scoring 30, 30, and 26 points. Now, the results aren't something that I put a ton of stock into. What I love is how much he is shooting. In those same 3 games, 18, 24, 20 field goal attempts. And for someone that gets to the line as often that he does, as someone that shoots as many threes that he does, that's a lot of field goal attempts. And it's really easy to do the math of him getting to 26 points. Now, the Suns aren't traditionally the juiciest matchup in the world when it comes to point guard, point props. They're not someone that we've been targeting all year, but they're definitely closer to a good matchup than they are a bad one. According to Courtside Pal, who I love using for a ton of this matchup data, they list the Suns as giving up the 6th most points per game to someone of Trey's scoring profile. 3 of the last 4 point guards against the Suns have gone over their point total over under as well. So with all this stuff put together, the odds, how well Trey's been playing, the mostly good matchup, I love backing Trey Young to go over 25.5 points. If you want to pump it up to 26 or to 30, or 26.5 or to 30, you can. I'm just going to stick with the 25.5 personally. That's our first play. Next up, Magic versus Timberwolves. Karl Anthony Towns under 22.5 points, +105 odds at DraftKings. So this is going to be the first of our 2 under plays, our 2 fade plays of the day. I do have a pretty good hit rate with these unders, but I am more selective with them as well. So let's hope we can have another successful under day. On the year, Karl Anthony Towns has gone over this in only 23 of 47 games, so just under a 50% hit rate. Not that that's the most important thing because things change over the course of the year, but I do like to look at just how they've been playing. I will admit he's been playing a little bit better recently in his past 6-7 games or so. Obviously, he had that absurd blow-up game against the Hornets where he scored 62 points. Granted, that seemed to make his teammates and his coach more mad than anything, but that did happen. And then he followed up that game, which I was really impressed by, with 2 straight 27 games. When I saw him score 62, I immediately wanted to feed him in the next game. But he played well in the 2 games following that, so I'll give him points. I'll give him props for that. Since then, he's only gone over in 1 of his last 3 games. Granted, that was his last game against the Mavericks. The reason why I'm fading him tonight, and the reason why him and those scoring outbursts don't really scare me off, he's gone over in the easy matchups, right? The Hornets are the juiciest matchup for someone like Cat, as are the Wizards. The Pistons prior to that, in this 10-game stretch, he also went over against the Pistons. And now, as are the Mavericks. The Mavericks gave up a ton of points to Bigman. He misses it in the more difficult ones. And tonight, against the Heat, against the Magic, the Heat we'll get into in a little bit, against the Magic, very, very difficult matchup for Karl Anthony Towns. The Magic just do not give up a lot of points to big guys like Cat. Even big guys like Cat who can shoot. On the year, if you look at how Cat scores, which takes into account the fact that he's a big guy who can stretch the floor from deep, the Magic are giving up literally the fewest points per game to someone of Karl Anthony Towns' shooting profile. Again, this is per Courtside Pal. And if you just look at Cat's player profile across the board, some of the metrics don't really matter that much, like height, weight, and mass, but shooting profile, scoring profile, playmaking style, all that stuff, they list the Magic as a tough matchup for Karl Anthony Towns. And some players perform better when they're at home. The Timberwolves being at home means literally nothing for me. Cat has only gone over this number in 9 of 22 home games. Now, I don't think that there's too much to that. To be honest, I don't think he purposefully plays bad at home. Not purposefully. I don't think there's really anything to the fact that he hasn't played better at home. But some players do legitimately get a boost at home. So all I'm trying to say here is that's not Karl Anthony Towns. If you take out the 62-point outlier, which is an absurd outlier, he averages 20.4 points per game at home. So I think all in all, you put that together, I like fading Cat, especially the fact that we can get it for plus 105 odds. That's pretty good. That's at ESPN Bet. Next up, Heat versus Wizards. I promised I was going to talk about the Heat. Another underplay, Kyle Kuzma, under 24.5 points. This is also at plus 105 odds. This one is at DraftKings. Now for our second and final under fade play of the day. This is another really, really good price that we are getting at DraftKings. Both FanDuel and ESPN Bet, they both actually favor the under as the more likely outcome. And when I say favor the under, if you're not sure what I mean, just look at where the sportsbooks price the over and where they price the under. When you do that, look at what the more expensive side is. What side are the books pricing more juice to, making a more expensive buy? That means they're favoring that side. So for this case, both FanDuel and ESPN Bet, they have the under priced at minus 120, while the over priced at about minus 110, something like that, favoring the under. Caesars also favors the under at minus 119, with the over at minus 115. And again, we're getting this for plus money at DraftKings, plus 105. So it's a really, really good price. I know talking through the odds probably isn't the most engaging type of content, but I do want to make it clear that when I'm playing these player props, not only do I look into the matchups and all that stuff, I look at the odds as well, because the odds discrepancies, that's the most important thing. For Kuzma, this is also somewhat a fade of recent results. Kuzma has gone over in 3 of his last 4 games, but if you look outside of that stretch, he had actually missed it in 5 straight games heading into this 4-game stretch. So it's not like he's been consistently smoking this over. He's kind of similar to Karl Anthony Towns, where on the year he heavily trends towards the under. Kuzma has only gone over this number in 19 of 47 games. And another thing that's similar to Karl Anthony Towns is this is a very tough matchup for someone like Kuzma. So we're kind of fading him in this matchup against the Heat. The Heat are giving up the 4th fewest points per game to someone of Kuzma's shooting profile. Literally the fewest points per game to someone of his playmaking style. Now, generally, you want to associate playmaking with assists, but it all kind of leads to the same place. If he playmakes a certain way, and those types of playmakers don't score a lot against the Heat, that's an important information to have. Again, that's per Courtside Pal. Last time these two teams played, he went under, granted with 22 points, but that's still an under. I like for him to go under yet again, even if Jordan Poole ends up missing, who's been questionable with an illness. I still like riding with the Kuzma under. That's our third play. Lastly, 4th and final pick of the evening, Clippers versus Pistons. James Harden over 20.5 points, plus 115 odds at ESPN Bet. As always, we save our spiciest play of the day in terms of odds for last. Granted, plus 115 generally is lower than what our spiciest odds are, but that's just kind of how the board fell today. Now, if you've been tuning into my channel, you know that I've been saying generally a lot, but I like to back Harden assist. He's been on fire from an assist perspective. Tonight, we're still backing Harden, but we're backing him on points, not assists. The Pistons are a matchup, a defense that we've targeted for guard point props the entire year. It's mostly worked out for us the entire year as well. Across the board, the Pistons are such a juicy matchup for someone like James Harden to score a ton of points. Now, he is someone I like to pump up. I took Harden also 25 plus points. I put a half unit on that. That's best offered at plus 270 at DraftKings. I only officially track the official plays that I give out, but I like to give out ladder plays as well to tell people when I am pumping something up. This is all per Courtside Pal. The Pistons give up the most points per game to someone of Harden's shooting profile, the second most points per game to someone of Harden's scoring profile, and also the second most points per game to someone of Harden's playmaking style. Now, the difference between shooting and scoring, I explained it in every video, so I don't want to bore people who already know. Shooting just measures where the player takes shots from, doesn't measure whether they go in or not. Scoring actually measures where the players score from. So if they shoot a lot from three but don't score a lot from three, that's going to skew the numbers in each direction. So it's important to look at each stat individually. So yeah, great matchup across the board for Harden to score points. But what I found interesting and why we're going with points over assists is the Pistons allow the sixth fewest points per game to someone of Harden's playmaking style. And across the board, they're not a good matchup for assists. So we want to ride with his points over his assists. This is somewhat kind of a fade of recent results. Harden has missed this in 2 of his last 3 games, but granted, he did cash it in his last game in another really juicy matchup when he scored 25 points against the Wizards. Even if Paul George plays, he's been hampered by groin injury. He missed last game. The previous 2 games he played, but he was on a minutes restriction. If Paul George plays, I'm guessing he's going to be on a minutes restriction because he's been dealing with this groin injury once again. So if he gets ruled in, I'm not going to be scared off by this Harden prop. And that's how we got 4 plays for you guys to lock in. Again, remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And if you've made it this far, the last thing I will tell you is that if you like the picks that I give out, but you either don't want to watch the YouTube videos or you don't have time, or you would just prefer to have them texted to you so you could lock them in immediately, I do offer a dub club. It's only $5 a month. I'm not here trying to sell you a VIP picks package. Everything I give out on my dub club, I also give out for free on YouTube. The logic here being, some people came to me and they were like, hey, I like your picks, but I either don't really care about the video or the analysis, and I just want the plays immediately. So I came out with the dub club. However you want to get the picks is fine. If you want to do the $5 a month for Dub Club to have them texted to you, if you want to just watch the YouTube videos and not pay $5 a month, that's also fine. I just like to give people the option. And that's all we got. 4 bangers, 4 plays for you guys to lock in. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, and have a good one.